Oh, didn't see you there. I like this. Hey everybody, Jake here, and I have long been obsessed with replacing my Nintendo Switch Joy-Con. I just play a lot of handheld mode, and I don't love how these things sit in my hands. I don't love that tiny little, the distance on the analog stick there from the controller. I need a taller stick, and for the longest time, I have found happiness with Hori's Split Pad Compact. This has got the job done for me. You slide them on and off just like Joy-Con. I have been pretty happy. But then, Cracked sent me their Nitro Deck, the product that I will be doing a quick review for you right now. And the Cracked Nitro Deck, not to spoil the whole thing, but we're doing a changing of the guard. This is my handheld mode option right now, and let me tell you why. So first, I want to jump into the features, what you're looking at when you get one of these, what's available to you, what isn't when you're not using the, of course, standard Joy-Con. Right off the top, we are using Hall Effect Thumbsticks, and what this means for you and me is that there is a promise that the controls here, the analog sticks, will never suffer from stick drift. The mechanism inside these analog sticks is different from what you would find in a Switch Joy-Con, and the reason that drift occurs is not and cannot be present here due to how these Hall Effect sticks use magnets. So you can use them forever, you can use them intensely, and in theory, you will never suffer from drift, so you don't have to worry about that. Additionally, the Switch is connected through a USB-C connection at the bottom of the device, so there's really not any latency. If it's there, it's not noticeable. It's just like using a wired controller. Surprisingly, this grip is in fact compatible with the Switch and the Switch OLED, which really surprised me because I slid this puppy in. This is my Switch OLED, and it fits like perfectly. It fits like a glove. So they managed to do a good thing here. A lot of these Switch grips, like the one I introduced earlier, they're just kind of using the rails on the side of the Switch. So of course it's going to be compatible with both. But this is like a full solid grip. And a lot of these grips, they don't work for the Switch and the Switch OLED. So I'm kind of impressed about that. Okay, now check this out. This is kind of a good time. So we've got our thumbsticks here, and you can actually give them a little twist and a pull, and very easily they come off the top. But for some reason, when you're playing, you would never know that these could come off. You would never guess that. They're extremely sturdy. You just kind of press them back in there. And what that lets you do is if you want like different color sticks or you want them to have like a different kind of feel on the top, you can do that. Like my right analog stick here, I have kind of this little circle pattern, so I feel that on my thumb when I'm using it. Whereas this one, my left analog stick, is just flat. You've probably already noticed, but we're looking at remappable back buttons here, and a lot of controllers are doing this nowadays. My Hori Split Compacts each had one button. These have two, and I really like these. I've gotten really accustomed to using them, and silly example, but I've been playing a lot of the new Pokemon Scarlet DLC, and I'm riding around my Koraidon, and to make him sprint, normally you press in on the left stick, but instead I map that to one of these back buttons. All I do is press that little back button. I never love pressing on the stick, and I'm sprinting away on my Koraidon. Now again, this is connecting to the Switch via a USB-C connection, so at the bottom there is no USB-C port, obviously, but they did this really clever thing, and they have these kind of secret ports at the top here. You can kind of see that for yourself, and you plug your charger in, and now you can charge and play in handheld mode, no problem. You can even use the kickstand, plug it in the back, have it sitting up on the kickstand and charge it. If you want to grab like a Pro controller, set it up here. Now you just got a nice little charging stand. You're playing your games no problem. And you probably see that there's another port over here. There's a second port, and that is again a USB-C port, but this is labeled output, and that's because you slide this out, use this little slider, get your little switch out, very easy, put it in the dock, and now you can use this grip as a fully functional controller. You can use it as a wired controller when your Switch is docked, which is pretty neat. And rounding out our features here, we have a turbo button. I'm sure you're familiar with this. It makes it seem like your console is pressing a button really, really fast, really rapidly. So if you're ever like, hanging out in one of our Mario Party streams and you want to beat Andre at one of those mini games where you have to press the A button really, really fast, you just activate turbo. Now you're a full-on cheater, but you're definitely gonna win. And this actually does have gyro motion control support. So a lot of these grips don't. And you find that here, and it's got rumble. So the last feature, the one thing that I think that this doesn't have, that the Nitro Deck doesn't have, is NFC. So like if you're using Amiibo, that's like the one feature I think that isn't on this thing that you normally get with the Switch Joy-Con, apart from, of course, like taking them off the console and using them for motion controls, which I don't really think you're going to be doing when you're playing handheld anyway. So like, I don't know, it's how important are Amiibo to you in handheld mode anyway? So I'm tempted to say that this is a fully featured handheld solution for your Nintendo Switch to replace your Joy-Cons to get a little bit of an extra grip. So now moving away from the breakdown, taking my professional hat off, putting my personal hat on, why do I like this thing so much? And I think the number one thing is, I know this is so subjective, so that's why I said again, personal hat. I think this puppy feels good. You know, there's something about Nintendo handhelds of the past, before the Switch era, where I felt like they were just like, it was nice to have like a solid device, like one piece of hardware. And I think there's something about the Joy-Con and the way they go on the Switch, which is just like a tablet, where it always feels a little bit like twisty, a little not quite right. And this actually ameliorates that problem to such a degree that I find myself genuinely hoping that the Switch 2 is taking notes. I would love something a little bit more like this, leans a little bit closer to the Pro Controller setup than the Joy-Con, and I just get so much enjoyment out of this. This is exactly how I want something to feel when I am holding it in handheld mode, except for one tiny issue, and I'm going to try to show this on screen the best I can, but the placement of the right analog stick I find to be maybe half an inch, maybe even a little bit less, too low. When I'm using this device, my thumb is traveling a little too far down. It's not perfectly comfortable for the way that this grip is set up. And if you look at my Hori Split Pad Fit or Compact, you can actually see that right analog stick is a little bit closer to the buttons than this is. Now, maybe that's personal preference, maybe that's just me, but if I was gonna give one note to the Crack team, I would say, put that analog stick a little bit higher up. But if I'm being emotionally honest with myself about the kind of games that I'm playing on Nintendo Switch, they just don't really use the right analog stick that much, so it hasn't been that an issue at all for me using this in practice. So I'm kind of speaking theoretically about that if I was trying to play a right analog stick heavy game. But everywhere else, like something I always do with handhelds like this, with accessories like this, is that I hope that they open up modes of play that I wasn't using before. So if I just have Joy-Con on my Switch, I am never going to play Super Smash Bros. Online or handheld mode at all. I just don't find it comfortable. I feel like those sticks are too small. Again, I can't be aggressive the way that I want to, but I had to put through its paces online with Smash, and I'm happy to say I had very successful results and found it to be extremely comfortable. You know, I don't buy a product like this because it has back buttons and because I need buttons or because I need a turbo function. I buy it because of that, because it opens me up in handheld mode in a way that I wasn't open to before. And in that regard, I find this to be an incredibly successful product. Now, I want to take a second and I want to talk about the Cracked app. The Cracked app is so goofy. You see it in all of their promotional materials, and it makes you think that they're doing an NFT thing, but that's not what it is at all. There's no blockchain. It's just a digital collectible, which I don't entirely understand. It's maybe just not for me, but it's like you register your product on this Cracked app. It tells you how rare your specific edition of the Nitro Deck is. So obviously you can see I've got kind of like a limited edition or something here that's styled after the GameCube. Cracked has all of these other, different versions of this. They've got one that like looks like the Super Nintendo, which is pretty cool. They've got like an all black one, a gray one. They've got a mint green one that I think looks dope. But yeah, they've got all these different colors. So it tells you like, oh, this was this number out of this many manufactured, if that's something you're interested in. And I personally am not. This is just like an accessory to me. And hey, what I look at that as though is a promise of quality, and I think a certain level of earnest sweetness from the Cracked team. Like, they really love their products. So the fact that they made that app, while I don't really care about that app, it does endear me to them a little bit. And I will say, when I started using my Hori split pad compacts, there was a long time where I was carrying around like a stupid paper pamphlet that reminded me like how to set the back button and how to like program the turbo and things like that. And I do like that in the Cracked app right there, you press a little button, you get all of that information, your little quick sheet of stuff you can do with your Nitro Deck. I knew it was on my phone, I knew it was on the app right there. Actually really nice and helpful, and I did appreciate that aspect. So finally, if you want a Nitro Deck for yourself, what you're looking at is the grip, the actual piece of hardware, the accessory. That is going to run you $60 US on the Cracked website. And if you want like a limited edition, which comes with a carry case for your device, which I have right here. Very nice little carry case, holds some games, has a couple, thumbstick toppers in there as well. That's going to run you an extra $30, so you're looking at $89.99 there, $90. So we're getting kind of close to the end of the Switch life. Is it time for you to spend $60 to $90 for a grip? If you're somebody that plays docked, mostly, almost exclusively, maybe not. But if you're interested in playing kind of in the ways that I described and you are a handheld player, I kind of think this is the way to go. There are still tons of Switch games left. I'm going to be playing Mario Wonder out of my mind, and I know I'm going to be using this grip when I do so. But I think the biggest thing for me is that this is a first product from Cracked as far as I know, and they have proven themselves. So when the Switch 2 eventually does come out, or there is some other piece of hardware and I'm looking for an accessory, oftentimes I would go to Hori and I would see what Hori was making. But now, I think I'm going to them. I like this a lot. So there it is, the spoiler. On the GameXplain review scale, I'm giving it a liked a lot. In the future, if they want to get it to love, if they want to blow my mind, that maybe a tiny little thing with the analog stick, sure. But if they want to add in a feature that the Switch does not have, figure this out. Here's my pitch to Cracked. It would be so cool if you could connect like a mini dock, like a portable dock to this thing, somehow get it on your TV without having to take the Switch out of the Nitro Deck. Now, like I might have mentioned earlier, I am surprised how easy it is to just kind of like use this little slit on the back and slide your Switch out, and I think that's a huge advantage to this device, because if it was a chore, then I wouldn't like it as much. I'd be taking it out to dock it all the time. That would be really annoying, but it is so easy. But it would be so cool if I could set this thing up on its kickstand, somehow get it on my TV for when I want to play multiplayer, play a game on the TV like that. I know I've seen third-party docks that are tiny, so in the future, that's something that they could do. But otherwise, I just think this is an insanely solid product, and I'm going to say it's probably the best way for most games to play handheld mode, in my opinion. So thank you so much for tuning into this review. I will see you next time. Goodbye.